Good morning, everyone. It's Lee Henson, President and Founder of Agile Dad, and it's time for today's episode of the Daily Stand-Up. So without any further ado, let's get started. It's Thursday. We're close to another weekend. I know I'm excited, and I hope you are too. Many, many best wishes to all of you out there who are going to be celebrating the weekend with friends and family. I read an article recently that was called Be an Inspirational Agile Leader, and it was written by Adrian Baker. And let me tell you, this article definitely stimulated my mind and caused me to recollect some of my thoughts because she calls out, Adrian calls out the Simon Sinek, who's a well-known writer and commentator on inspirational leadership. He's been doing this for a long time. And the comparison in the article compares Simon's leadership skill set and the motivation and inspirational things that he talks about to how it could be applied to Agile and Scrum in this community. And this article was originally based on ideas from the 2009 book, Start With Why. Now, what I can tell you is Start With Why, not only is it one of my favorite books, but it really is a good argument for just about everything we do. If we challenge ourselves and ask ourselves why something is important, it's going to cause us to do a little bit deeper analysis to figure out exactly why we're doing things and why behavior is a certain way so that we can proceed to figure things out better than we could before. So it sounds kind of silly, but starting with why is probably the best place to start. The truth is, inspirational leaders, they have and communicate a clear sense of why they do things. They have a clear belief of why they feel a certain way. But even though in Agile we always say it's critical to understand the how and the what, it should always be guided by this why. This why should be leading you down the path. And I feel like sometimes we often pin people down by not telling them the why, or by explaining the why in a way that's difficult for them to understand. So my whole thing is, I think that you have to use real world examples in order to really get your head around this. And they bring up a couple of examples in the article. So here we go. The first example they brought up was Apple. Simon argues that Apple always challenges the status quo when they're very good. They have a strong and well-communicated why. They want everything to inspire people to be better and to use their products more seamlessly and efficiently. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it does this, but it certainly does inspire people to stand in really long lines for hours outside of Apple stores to get the latest version of the Apple product that they're about to release. But the truth is, the people who are building the product or service are really guided by why and they understand. Other electronics companies focus on the what, the product, the features, the pricing, the quality, and you can basically say this is the whole Android argument, right? While they may be successful, without the strong sense of why, they're just not inspirational. And that's why a lot of people will say that having Apple products is an experience. I don't know that I agree or disagree, but I am addicted to Apple products, so that might be your hint. The other example he gave was a really one that warmed my heart. He talks about Dr. Martin Luther King, who inspired the world with his I Have a Dream speech. I love this quote. It says, if you notice, the name of the speech was not I have a 12-point plan. I'm going to add to it. It didn't say I have a 173 slide PowerPoint deck that's going to give you all the helpful information you need. Sinek pointed out that Dr. King was surrounded by people to help him with the how and the what. Otherwise, the dream of his why would have only remained a dream. Why isn't about making money. It's an outcome. It's a focus on outcome. A true why is more about purpose, cause, or belief. The truth is most things that we work on, most projects, have no clear sense of why. I can't tell you how many times I've asked why, to executive leadership, to product owners, to whoever. And sometimes the why just doesn't shine through. If it's focused on centralizing sales revenue or increasing productivity or reducing time to market or reducing operational costs, there's always those kinds of things. Essentially, they all boil down to making more money. And that's not exactly inspirational unless you're the person who's going home with the paycheck, right? So when you're thinking about goals in Scrum, it's always been a motivational and guiding tool. In the new rewrite of the Scrum Guide, they've incorporated a sprint goal in the concept of product goals. And I think that, conventional wisdom teaches that these goals should be measurable and quantifiable. That makes perfect sense, but the more quantifiable the goal is, the less inspirational it becomes. And I don't want to dog on anybody here, but they bring up a couple of different people who really focus on quantity, numbers, those kinds of things. And I guess if that's the product or service you're selling, then it's completely appropriate. But I think it's important for you to understand that if you're going to build trust and build loyalty and you want to inspire people and uplift them, that you have to have a different plan that focuses on the why more so than the what you're going to do. And why can't all be driven by money or by status. There's the whole concept about the product backlog as well, where we take things from idea into what we're going to do, into a doing phase, and then into done. But sometimes we end up getting stuck in it nearly done or almost done phase. And I think that when we think about a strong why statement for our product backlog goal, this could be a really powerful tool to drive development, ordering, or refining the backlog. If you took a simple backlog item and said, we want to ensure that customers go through self-help pages before they can contact the service desk to reduce call volumes. It's a very common requirement in that world. But is this how you would want to be treated? Is this how you want to treat your friends, right? I think a better statement would have been, we want to give our customers the opportunity or the option to have both self-guided help materials and contacting a service agent directly if they'd like. This way, based on what they feel more comfortable with, they have the opportunity to do both. And that's the difference between the why, right, and just the what. And I think that if you capture those and you understand, then it's going to make a lot more sense. It's just going to drive you in a direction to understand the purpose, to be more persona driven, to be more behavioral driven. And I think that that's incredibly important. Even at sprint planning, I can't help but remember the early days of sprint planning, circa early 2000s, when outsourcing to people was the new big thing, outsourcing to India, outsourcing to wherever. And anyone with any kind of reasonable skills could convert, a specifications document into lines of code. It didn't matter who they were, where they were, or what time zone they were in. They should just be able to do their job. And developers in other locations obviously were a fraction of the cost of what it costs for people, locally. So during the following years, all these lines of code were written by hundreds of thousands of offshore developers who hopefully had some idea of what they were doing, but they didn't have the faintest clue why. So it continued to make products and services more disconnected from where they should have been. And, it's interesting because if you contrast this with what Scrum is intended to do, it often required you to get the team together at sprint planning and gain an understanding of the why they're doing the work they're about to do so that they can set their goal and be in line with what the wishes are of these stakeholders. Previous versions of the Scrum Guide only mentioned the what and the how, but the 2020 Guide actually has 3 sections on sprint planning. One that talks about why the sprint is valuable, one that talks about what can be done within the sprint, and one that talks about how will the chosen work get done. When somebody asked Jeff about this, Jeff Sutherland, he said, discussion of the why gives the Scrum team the context that may otherwise they've been lacking. We found that Scrum teams who understand the intent of the product owner deliver better results and higher quality. The Scrum Guide is now encouraging you to lead with why. So there you have it. If you lead with a why goal, it's going to be a lot better. In addition, I want to talk about the inspirational Scrum Master, right? We all know that the Scrum Guide is concise and to the point. It's only tens of pages long, but it tells us step by step what to do to deliver projects within a Scrum framework, which makes sense. That's what it's designed for. What it doesn't mention is that short prescriptive guide is built on decades of incredible research, inspirational writing, and groundbreaking ideas. It takes all the things that people were doing and it allows us to form an alliance around the guide and create a guide to the way we do things, almost like the book of life, if you will, and explain not just what, but why we're doing it. And I think it hones in on those things that are so incredibly important. There's so much criticality surrounding honesty if we want to inspire people. I think some people in the technology sector especially, and in some business sectors, have at certain points pretended to understand things that they really didn't understand, right? And whenever you work with a brand new team or a brand new group, It's good to make it clear with them from the outset that you're the technical experts and I'm not a coder. I'm not a programmer per se. I've never worked as a developer, and all of you know way more about writing code than I do. Now, in my case, I have a little bit of a technical background, but not nearly as much as these other people do. But the theme continues throughout the project. Can you dumb it down a bit? Remember who you're talking to, or, well, even I understand that. Instead of bluffing your way through things, a bit of self-deprecating humor never hurts. But most importantly, it's good to express that the team has a sense of mastery and that you trust their skills and acknowledge their skill sets and how hard they studied to get to where they are. So I guess in a nutshell, if you want to have a really inspirational agile transformation, you need to have the desire to increase productivity, or at least not be left behind by the competitors who are going to be benefiting from productivity gains due to their increased agility. So in order to do that, you need to figure out how you are going to transition from this hardcore focus on output to a great focus on outcome. Even though to leadership, what and how statements are going to be quite convincing, you can still deliver incrementally smaller sets of value that get really good use, that make sense, but you also can start to focus on the why and get to the things that really make a difference. So Adrian, I just want to compliment you. Bang up job on the blog. Thanks to the Agile Alliance for putting it out there. And thanks for someone for sending it my way so that I could read it and review it. One of the better blog posts I've read recently. If you have a topic that you'd like to discuss on the Daily Stand-Up Podcast, we would love to hear from you. Go ahead and reach out to us. You can reach out to us at learnmore@agiledad.com. We'd love to talk about whatever is important to you and help guide you on your way. Until next time, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Do take care.